Thank you for choosing American Pest CEUs.
Hello everyone, Sean Reeves with American Pest CEUs. I'm an associate certified entomologist and I've been in the pest management industry since 1999.
Today's course is on the Core Manual, Chapter 1, Pest Management. After taking this chapter, you should be able to define pest, state the four main groups of pest and give an example of each, discuss the importance of pest identification and pest control, list 6 general pest management methods, define integrated pest management or IPM, list 5 benefits of using IPM, discuss how using one or more control options can improve pest control, describe how selectivity and persistence affect chemical controls, explain how pest population levels trigger control procedures, distinguish between prevention and suppression when developing pest management goals, give several reasons why pesticide applications may fail, explain the importance of a pesticide's mode of action in managing pesticide resistance, list 2 tactics that will minimize the development of pesticide resistance. Pest problems throughout history. Civilization has been combating insects and other pests throughout history. Perhaps the most infamous human catastrophe was the Black Plague of Europe, when millions of people in the 14th century died from a mysterious scourge. Centuries later, it was determined that the cause was a bacterial disease spread by rat fleas. When rats, the normal host animals, were unavailable as a food source, the fleas sought other warm-blooded hosts, including humans. Although the plague is still present in parts of the world today, controlling rats, other rodents, and fleas can greatly reduce disease incidence. The destruction of Ireland's potato crop by a fungal disease in the 19th century directly affected the population of the United States. Late blight essentially eliminated potatoes, the staple food crop of Ireland. Potatoes not destroyed in the field rotted in storage during the winter. Thousands of Irish starved in the resulting famine, and more than 1 million migrated to the United States. Late blight continues to be a major problem of potatoes, but today it is managed through the use of resistant cultivars, proper sanitation practices, and fungicides. This was very interesting to me when I first read this because my family actually did immigrate to the United States from Ireland due to the potato famine. It's amazing the impact that pests can have on our lives, especially things like crops. Now, obviously, we've gotten much better as the years have gone on. We have a lot more practices, which you're learning about here in this course. Also, we have pesticides and things like that. But just to think, back in those days, people just died. I mean, when the food crop was attacked and it got destroyed, there was no food. That was it. You either had to go somewhere else or die. Malaria is a disease caused by the transmission of a parasitic microorganism, protozoan, by mosquitoes when they feed on humans. Historians credit malaria with altering the patterns of human history and causing the collapse of some civilizations. During World War II, 500,000 soldiers were infected in the South Pacific and African theaters, with 60,000 deaths recorded. In 2010, malaria cases numbered 219 million, with 660,000 people dying from this debilitating disease. Anti-malarial drugs, insecticide applications, environmental modifications, and mosquito bed nets have brought great improvements to fighting this difficult-to-control disease. So when we talk about mosquitoes, and especially malaria, it's amazing the impact it's had on human history, alternating the patterns of where people lived, even collapsing civilizations. I mean, it's pretty unbelievable when you think about it. So I would definitely say that mosquitoes are public enemy number 1. In a lot of countries, you still have issues with malaria. And even if you travel from places like the United States or other developed countries, you really have to get the anti-malarial shot before you go, because if not, you could come down sick, and that's definitely not something you want to deal with. Outbreaks of the native mountain pine beetle in the western United States and Canada in the early 21st century destroyed more than 4 million acres of lodgepole, ponderosa, Scots, and limber pines. Accidental introduction of the emerald ash borer from Asia during the same period has destroyed millions of ash trees in the Midwestern United States. Preventative insecticidal treatments are being used to manage these two destructive beetles. The emerald ash borer was a very interesting insect to me. When I was growing up, I heard a lot about it. People would have ash trees all over their towns and communities, and then this pest came through and it just decimated them. So these invasive species are a really big deal, and the reality is when something gets introduced to an area that's not used to having it, it can really wreak havoc on the ecosystem. And in this case, most of the ash trees that were in the Midwest have now been decimated and they're just gone. So there's a real reality of what these insects are able to do. The introduction of one species like this that's not native can be a really big deal to an ecosystem in an area. These examples illustrate the enormity and complexity of pest problems, but what is a pest? A pest is an undesirable organism that injures humans, desirable plants and animals, manufactured products, or natural substances. Many insects, pathogens, disease-causing organisms, such as viruses, bacteria or fungi, plants known as weeds, mollusks, slugs and snails, fish, birds, and a variety of mammals from mice to deer, compete for our crops and livestock. In addition, some pests destroy clothing, furniture, and buildings, reduce the beauty and recreational value of the landscape, and invade our homes during the winter months. As the battle between humans and pests continues over time, so will innovative methods of control. And you need to understand what a pest is by definition. Again, a pest is an undesirable organism that injures humans, desirable plants and animals, manufactured products, or natural substances. So keep in mind there can be a lot of different things that are pests, which you can see up above. But the reality is you need to know how to define a pest. Any of you taking a core exam? Because if you don't, you're going to get those questions wrong on the exam. Pest control over the years. For many centuries, the causes of crop failures and human and animal diseases were shrouded in mystery. The first pest control measures were crude, weeds were pulled, rats were clubbed, and beetles were plucked from foliage. Other ancient, non-chemical control methods included burning to control weeds, diseases, and insects, 950 BC, Egyptians placing fish nets overbed to prevent mosquito bites, 440 BC, and Romans using rat-proof grain storage bins, 13 BC. The first known use of natural enemies is credited to Arabian growers, 1000 AD. Arab farmers moved colonies of a predaceous ant species from nearby mountains to an oasis to control pest ants that were damaging their date palms. This example of the Arabian growers moving the ants from the mountains to the oasis to control the pest ants is a great example of biological control. The earliest use of chemicals as pesticides dates back to 2500 BC, when the Sumerians used sulfur compounds to control mites and insects. The Chinese used mercury and arsenic compounds in 500 BC to control body lice. Early plant-derived insecticides included hellebore to control body lice, nicotine to control aphids, and pyrethrins to control a wide variety of insects. In France, during the late 19th century, a farmer sprayed a mixture of lime and copper sulfate on grapevines to deter passers-by from picking the grapes. The farmer found that the mixture also controlled downy mildew, a serious fungal disease of grapes. Later named Bordeaux mixture, it remains a widely used fungicide worldwide.